and we have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Hum. We got a picture there. Oh, hello.
We are here.
How are
and
you?
I'm Ann Northrup.
How are you, Ann?
It's time for the weekly medical report.
Please.
Well, I played golf this weekend.
Whoa! I walked a golf course this weekend,
Well,
but
I thought I was just going to go out there and hit some gentle pitch shots and stuff. But on the first hole, I was having such trouble with them. I just took a full swing, and that was fine. So I played regular golf for 9 holes. Then I stopped.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I decided not to overdo it.
That's great.
And my radiation...
You're back in the swing of things.
For the moment, my radiation schedule has been established 5 weeks, 5 days a week from June 2nd through the 4th of July. Let's see whether they actually come in and do work on the 4th of July, but that's supposed to be my last day. And then we'll have fireworks to celebrate.
Great.
Yeah, 8:45 a.m.
And I was told I need a cataract operation. And so the guy I'm not really familiar with all the procedures. There's one that's covered by Medicare and the other one isn't, the laser surgery. He says, you need the laser surgery because that costs $2,000 an eye. So I'm just, if you want to send me your experiences with this so I can know what to expect, I'd appreciate it.
You can Google that too.
Well, I have, but I like talking to people who, have actually had it.
Yeah, so I like both.
Yeah.
I
did do all that.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people who've had breast cancer and had various, versions of it and various responses.
Well, we're just engaging in avoidance behavior about the news, starting with, the big story of the week, of course, is how the Trump administration and the GOP, the Republicans, are absolutely obliterating health care in the United States.
And everything else.
So, yes. So we're going to start with how AIDS activists disrupted the testimony of RFK Jr. and charged him with killing people with AIDS.
And he's not used to this because he leapt out of his chair.
No, you're spoiling it. I mean, I have to say, you'll see it when we bring you the video.
Yeah.
But I think, if you're a Kennedy and you hear a bang, and I'm not making a joke here.
It's true.
His father was killed, his uncle was killed, the president, and he really flinched very badly over that.
Literally out of his chair.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was him. Elsewhere in Congress, Texas Democrat Jasmine Crockett, much more admirable, played a game of Trump or trans at a House hearing.
The Texas House, are you ready for this? Controlled by Republicans, they voted to repeal the state's unconstitutional ban on gay sex. But a federal judge in Texas has ruled against workplace protections.
Workplace protections.
For LGBTQ people.
Yeah. And Tennessee and Georgia have found new ways to dehumanize transgender people.
U.S. senators introduce a bill to make online pornography a federal crime.
Yeah, they know it when they see it, and they just don't like it. But meanwhile, Trump and his lackey Rick Grinnell have unwittingly, we think, booked shows, Broadway shows with drag content into the Kennedy Center.
Wait till the religious right finds out about this.
Whoa. Are you kidding? They love this stuff.
Leo XIV kicked off his papacy by condemning same-sex marriage again. And his brother is even more anti-LGBTQ. He's a character.
Do we care about the brothers? There are always bad brothers. Look at Billy Carter. Look at it.
Just who I was thinking of.
Yeah, well, he's the prime one. In Romania, good news, they dodged a bullet in their presidential election.
Paris has unveiled a monument to the gay victims of the Holocaust.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Maryland, again, a shocker, repealed its HIV criminalization law.
And we're going to tell you about a New York City exhibit that looks at cruising in the shadows.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay.
But we start in Congress because that's where all the action is these days. So they're having a lot of hearings on the proposed budget. So
On the big, beautiful bill.
exactly.
It's not the budget. It's just the big, beautiful bill. It's not the federal budget. It's the things that they can get through with just majority votes in each house without avoiding, and they can avoid a filibuster.
Yes. And they may or may not accomplish it. But cabinet members are testifying all over the Hill on various aspects of this. So Bobby Kennedy Jr., Secretary of Health and Human Services, was on the Hill defending the proposals for HHS.
No, he wasn't. He doesn't know anything about it. I mean, he kept getting asked questions. Well, who cut this thing? I didn't know it was cut.
Well, that's all their answers. Kristi Noem knows nothing. We'll get to her, but they all go up there and they know nothing. It's just totally outside the norm, you should excuse the expression, that we're used to, where people have intelligent adult conversations.
Or at
they
least
may not
ones
agree.
that sound intelligent. But it doesn't seem to make any difference.
It's all gone. Anyway, Bobby Kennedy was there.
So, and thank goodness AIDS activists. We got a picture of one of them. I mean, there.
Housing Works, Health Gap.
They disrupted the hearing, and we do have that video that we were promising you.
The witness will suspend. The committee will come to order. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be tolerated. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business.
Whoa.
Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
And the white-haired guy getting muscled out of there, that's Ben of Ben & Jerry's.
Yes.
Ben Cohen. Now, look, I mean, Kennedy, they're firing 10,000 HHS, Department of Health and Human Services staff. They're canceling 759, almost, 800 million in HIV research grants. Elimination of PEPFAR-funded maternal and child health care programs supporting 1 million people around the globe. Targeted cuts to programs serving LGBTQ, Black and brown communities. It goes on and on and on. And when I say I don't know how we're going to survive this, many people are not going to survive this.
Oh, absolutely. But they say it's like they're lying about cutting Medicaid. We're not cutting Medicaid. We're fixing Medicaid.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. And then they keep saying there are too many able-bodied people on it. Well, maybe the reason that they're semi-able-bodied is because they have Medicaid. That keeps them healthy.
Yeah.
Their point is it's a program for the poor. It's not for a program only for the disabled.
Right. So it's nice to see people standing up and yelling about it, because otherwise we have no voice. That's why activists do things like that, because they're trying to get people's attention to what is wrong about these proposals, and they have very little access to any news media or any way of getting attention to their point of view.
Right. But we do have the voice of
Jasmine Crockett.
So Congressmember Marjorie Taylor Greene chairs the Oversight Subcommittee on Delivering on Government Efficiency, and she held a hearing attacking trans athletes. So committee member Jasmine Crockett, who's a Democrat of Texas, let her have it. She played a game that she called Trump or Trans.
Trump or Trans. You ready? Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to tell me whether or not it is Trump or trans people that are responsible. You understand?
Got it.
Okay, very good. The first one, gutted medical research.
Trump.
Kidnapping Americans and sending them to foreign countries, a.k.a. deporting them.
Trump.
Driving us into a recession.
Trump.
Increasing the cost of everything.
Trump.
Waging an idiotic tariff war.
Trump.
Harming farmers.
Trump.
Ignoring the Constitution.
Trump.
Proposing to take away Social Security.
Trump.
Cutting health care.
Trump.
Firing government workers who keep our country safe.
Trump.
Encouraging an environment of hate and divisiveness.
Trump.
Thank you so much.
And I just want to say, Jasmine is fabulous.
Yeah.
But the witness, Fatima Goss Graves, the CEO of the National Women's Law Center, she was very thoughtful.
Exactly. It's sort of like an Andy Cohen Watch What Happens Live quiz.
Yeah. By the way, we will link to the entire 5-minute video there where she goes off on these things.
Well, a couple of other things.
In our email. Get on our email list, go to gayusatv.org, get on our list, you get these extras.
So you've probably all seen by now Kristi Noem unable to define habeas corpus. In fact, doing the opposite.
Well, she tried. She said it's something the president can do.
To deport people.
Yes.
And what she
Lincoln did it.
Yeah, well, Lincoln did it. What she had in mind there was that Lincoln had suspended habeas corpus. So that's what she was trying to convey. Badly. But the one that really caught my eye that I thought was egregious was Marco Rubio, Secretary of State.
Oh, his testimony in front of the Senate committee, yes. Well,
he was asked about, Senator Van Hollen was going after him about I'm going to screw up the name, Garcia, the guy who has gotten so much attention.
The one who's locked up in the El Salvador prison.
And who Van Hollen went and visited in the prison in El Salvador, or wherever they met. And Rubio said, yeah, the one you had a margarita with. And I thought, had a margarita with that? Those margaritas were put on the table by the El Salvador government. Neither of them touched it.
He also referred to the inmate as he's a gangbanger and this. I mean, none of this. And when Van Hollen tried to question, they said, no, the chair goes, your time's up. Let him talk.
Yeah, but the idea that he would take a situation of the margaritas on the table, knowing full well that they had been put there to try to embarrass
by the Trump
them.
administration.
Yes, and to turn that around and accuse Van Hollen of drinking margaritas with this guy was the most shameless.
Who was the one?
Shameless.
They held up a big picture of the guy who was locked up, his hands, to prove that Trump, doctored to.
Yes.
And who was the?
I think that was Abrego Garcia.
It was him, but who was the witness? And then they said, "Let me show you this picture," and they put it right up into her face. It was
Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, I think so.
Or Kristi Noem, one of them.
Might have been Kristi Noem. And they just said, I don't know anything about this. I mean, they're all liars.
No, it was Trump in an interview with not Jake Tapper, but the other guy from ABC, who he said, I never heard of you. But Trump says, no, look, it says MS-13. And the guy says, that's photoshopped to try to explain it, and he said, no, it's not, but it was.
All right. So
that's what's going on Capitol Hill.
And in we'll give you some good news, shocking news. The Texas House of Representatives voted to repeal their unconstitutional ban on homosexual conduct. And some Republicans got together with all the Democrats to repeal the ban. It's been unenforceable since 2003. But it's the first time it's made it to the floor. Now, it passed 59 to 56. It was a narrow vote.
Well, it was led by an out gay, out HIV positive member of the House in Texas, Representative Venton Jones. Didn't we show his proposal on the floor of the House?
Yes.
Cute guy.
Now, it goes to the Senate where they're apparently too busy to deal with it, or they're going to say they are. I don't think it's going to even get a vote.
Well,
this is progress, folks.
Back to the U.S. House and the testimony of Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem.
Oh, yes.
She says that the Venezuelan gay stylist who's in the El Salvador prison is not, people question her and say, well, he's not blah, blah, blah. And she says, he's not in my jurisdiction. He's in prison in El Salvador. You'll have to talk to the president of El Salvador. Well, the intellectual bankruptcy, I don't know if they're stupid or lying or both or whatever.
Both.
Well, here's the real story on him. He was abused in Venezuela as an out gay man
This is Andre Jose Hernandez Romero.
Exactly. He was invited to apply for asylum here, invited to apply for asylum here.
Because he was having so much trouble as a gay guy down there.
Yes, as I just said. Judged likely to get asylum. And then in the middle of that process, he was seized by the Trump administration and sent to the prison in El Salvador.
Because there was some rogue cop acting as an agent at that thing who has since been removed, actually, so bad, that said, oh, your crown tattoos, you're a gang member, you're going. Your
tattoos that say mom and dad with crowns, you're going to El Salvador.
This is, I mean, but... it's
But Kristi Noem says,
But here's the thing.
Not my jurisdiction.
All the people sent down there were entitled to due process.
Absolutely.
And none of them got any due process whatsoever, other than these rogue agents who say, you're one, you're going. And that's it. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of us. And it's happening to green card holders when they show up at the border. It's just...
But not if they win the game show.
It's grotesque.
Yes, they're proposing...
Hunger Games.
Yes, seriously considering a game show to humanize these people for the public to give them green cards.
And before
or citizenship.
Also out of Texas, but a federal decision, that horrible anti-LGBTQ federal judge, Matthew Kacsmaryk, he ruled that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act doesn't protect LGBTQ people from workplace discrimination. It only protects us from discriminatory termination. I mean, he's just, he's taking the Bostock decision and trying to narrow it.
They're just twisting everything.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Well, there's another Hegseth witch hunt. He has ordered the military now to identify troops who either have or may have gender dysphoria. The psychological term, of course, for the distress caused by gender identity. The goal is to get started on forcing transgender people out ahead of the June 6th date that was set.
I have to say my favorite court decision around all these things this week was the judge who declared that the DOJ takeover of the Institute of Peace was so egregious that it is now null and void and was outrageous. They took it over with guns. The Institute of Peace, not an administration organization.
Well, and meanwhile, one of the most famous Supreme Court decisions of all time is being overturned in Louisiana, Brown v. Board of Education. The Justice Department lifted a school desegregation order in Louisiana and called its continued existence an historical wrong and suggested that others dating back to the civil rights movement ought to be reconsidered. It's 2025, said this Harmeet Dillon, who's the head of the Civil Rights Division. It's 2025. If it's happening, it's wrong. But we're gonna hold these orders up.
Well, they also announced this week that the Justice Department was going to stop its oversight of racist police departments around the country.
Correct.
Yes.
That's right.
He pointed to it because he was going to that next.
Yes.
But now I want to go to the Kennedy Center. Kennedy Center workers are asking to unionize because they want to fix their working conditions and they want to maintain their right to free speech. So they have petitioned to unionize. The UAW is working with them on this and trying to support their getting that. But meanwhile, Rick Grinnell, the head of the Kennedy Center, per Trump.
A great American artist.
Has scheduled all these Broadway shows that have a lot of men in drag in them.
Chicago and Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes, but he also...
And Moulin Rouge.
He announced that he has been looking at the books and there are deficits and finagling with the money that is inappropriate, and he wants criminal prosecutions of the former leaders of the Kennedy Center.
We're going to refer to the U.S. attorneys. Now, Michael Arden, who brought Maybe Happy Ending to Broadway, which is a big contender for the Tonys, he has confirmed that despite Trump taking over the center, Parade, his play, which is about the lynching of a Jewish guy in the South who didn't commit a crime, is going to play at the Kennedy Center. He said, you have to tell the truth, no matter how scary it may be, though your voice shakes. So what's the truth about the current regime at the Kennedy Center? You know, it's a fascist regime.
Yeah.
Come on, Michael. You just killed your Tony chances.
Possibly.
With me. Anyway, I'm not a voter.
Well, another Michael, Senator Mike Lee of Utah, and his henchwoman, Representative Mary Miller of Illinois, have introduced a bill to ban porn, define obscenity, ban sharing porn, and criminalizing softcore porn producers. This is straight out of the Project 2025 plan. They are executing the plan post haste.
And executing us.
And executing anyone who has any relationship to any kind of porn.
One more footnote on the Kennedy Center.
The Handmaid's Tale advances
inexorably.
apace.
One more footnote to the Kennedy Center. That's where the Washington National Symphony is. It's, and they are now being underwritten by Putin acolyte and anti-Semite Michael Flynn.
You think you're not going to hear some of these names again, and
You're not
then there
supposed
they
to accept money like that. There have to be limits.
Well, the Washington Symphony should think about that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Lambda Legal Defense is suing the NIH, the National Institutes for Health, for canceling hundreds of research grants related to LGBTQ health and HIV. They're representing the researchers who have been put out of work and had their research stopped by Bobby Kennedy Jr. and the Trump administration.
Right. And by the way, I will link in our email to the story I wrote about a bench being dedicated to Tom Stoddard. It has a lot of nice pictures and nice story. In Chicago, the U.S. Department of Justice has begun an investigation into Mayor Brandon Johnson over allegations of race-based discrimination because he was bragging about all the black people in his administration. That's who they're going after. And of course, if you're a white racist from South Africa, you've been discriminated against and you're welcomed into this country.
Back to the Congress, they have reintroduced the Kids Online Safety Act, which we succeeded in defeating last time it was introduced because it is a very evil bill that is an attempt to, among other things, censor LGBTQ content everywhere and under the guise of kids online safety. So we're going to have to fight that fight again.
In Tennessee, students, teachers, administrators, other educational professionals are now at risk of being dead named and misgendered without any recourse. The governor, Bill Lee, he signed a bill. Instead, schools and individuals could be sued if they use or direct others to use a person's preferred pronoun or name under the new law. It protects people who do the misgendering. It's very cruel. It passed 77-18 in the hate state of Tennessee. So Tennessee schools and employers now face the possibility of civil lawsuits if they mandate or permit the use of preferred pronouns that do not correspond with an individual's sex assigned at birth.
And lest you think anyone's standing up to this, do you read Popular Information, Judd Legum's thing? I thought he had a great piece this week, very targeted. Verizon, he's documenting how these companies, he's great at documenting what corporations are doing. In 2020, Verizon issued a statement saying they were fiercely committed to diversity and inclusion. Fiercely committed.
Sure.
Now,
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. Now, 5 years later, that statement has been erased from their website, and they're trying to do a takeover of the Frontier Communications, a $20 billion acquisition, which has to be approved by the FCC. So an executive vice president of Verizon told the FCC, We are ending all our DEI-related policies effective immediately.
And the parent company of CBS, which is what, Paramount?
Yeah, these days, yeah.
I mean, so the head of CBS News says, I can't deal with this anymore, I'm leaving. It's bankrupt, it's intellectually bankrupt, it's no good.
Well, all of this started down this road in the 80s when the networks, CBS, ABC, and NBC, which had been independent and whose news divisions had been loss leaders for the networks, they were not required to make money. They were there for prestige, to do good news coverage. Each of those networks, one by one, sold out to corporations, allowed themselves to be bought by corporations. And then the ethic completely changed and the value system, and they no longer cared about the news division. They cared about making money, period.
Well, I will say that 60 Minutes has done some pretty hard-hitting pieces on the Trump administration this year.
Good.
But for how much longer? In Georgia, apropos of what happened in Tennessee, Governor Brian Kemp, he signed a bill that would deny the use of state funds for gender-affirming care for the state's transgender prison inmates, including surgeries and hormone replacement therapy. So just suffer. It passed 37-15 in the Senate.
Yeah. You want to talk about the Pope for a minute?
Well, we'll get to that under international, maybe. What about Logan Rozos?
Oh, well, this is an NYU student who was chosen to be one of the graduation speakers. Trans
at NYU.
Male, yes, at NYU. Let me just see
there
where
he
I
is.
have it. Yeah, I have him there, but now I'm looking.
So he was denied his diploma over the content of his speech. Denied his diploma. He said, the only thing that's appropriate to say in this time and to a group that is this large is a recognition of the atrocities currently happening in Palestine. And he went on in that vein. So for this, they're taking away his diploma.
Well, he's a black, gay, trans man. He has been an actor, director, writer. He's in their fine arts program. He was in the TV show David Makes Man, which was a wonderful, wonderful TV show.
He was named to GLAAD and Teen Vogue's 20 Under 20 lists, but he hasn't.
But the school says he lied to us.
Oh yeah, you said you weren't going to talk about this, and you did.
Right. You said you'd talk about something else,
Yeah.
and now we want to prosecute you.
Prosecute?
Prosecute. We're not going to just withhold your
Is this going to be referred to
diploma.
the Justice Department?
Well, probably, or some prosecutor. They want to prosecute him because that's what happens these days.
You can't win. My friend Peter Tatchell was demonstrating. He was at a pro-Palestinian demonstration in London, but his sign said, stop Israeli genocide. This is what Peter's sign said. And then it said, and Hamas, what Hamas is doing to its people is terrible. And it is. You notice what, I watch Amy Goodman all the time, and it's pro-Palestine all the time. And that's, great. But that nobody who comes on that show says, and we love Hamas and we think they're doing a great job. But when Peter put this up, he was arrested by the police for having a sign that they felt was out of place in the demonstration. So it's tough out there.
It is. All right.
I'm going to tell you about a terrible story. This kid, Jervy Barfield, he's 33, stabbed to death outside of Harlem, Delhi. And he's here pictured with his sister, Crystal Richardson. Now, we don't know why he was killed. But we do know that, and because the stories make reference to, he had been serving time in prison. He was a client of New Alternatives for Homeless LGBTQ Youth, where I'm on the board. And he was in prison because he was trying to protect his trans partner from a hate attack. Yeah. That's why he was in prison. And he was a client himself of New Alternatives for Homeless Youth. So we haven't gotten to the bottom of that story.
No, but now he's dead.
How about Ye and his Hitler song?
Why are we talking about this?
We don't have to if you don't want to, Anne.
I'm just curious what
my
in your thinking.
point is that so Ye has done this Hitler song that's gaining traction. and it was defended by Rogan. Andrew Tate is playing it. It's getting millions of hits. The point is, kids are listening to this, and anti-Semitic, pro-Hitler stuff is being normalized. And that's the world we live in.
Okay.
We used to be able to exert some level of shame. We used to be able to exert some level of shame for homophobia and transphobia.
Well, we had certain assumptions, certain norms, and those norms have been disintegrated. And we have to confront the fact that we can no longer assume that if we reference the Holocaust that everybody will go, boo, bad Holocaust. No, there are going to be people influenced by things like this.
Yeah.
But a piece of good news in this realm. In Iowa, a court again blocked a law banning books and banning a Don't Say Gay law.
Oh.
So thank you, Judge in Iowa.
And the crazy anti-trans Congress member Nancy Mace is trying to advance her Sue Voyeurs Act to create a civil right of action to expand the federal prohibition on video voyeurism, which, I think we can all say we're probably against. But at the hearing, she runs a video of herself naked. And it's blurred a bit, but this was taken of me. Now, this is all her vendetta against an ex-boyfriend who was suing
Nancy,
her.
Close your curtains.
It is so over the top. And she gets away with it because, in Congress, you've got this speech and debate clause that says you can say whatever you like.
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene showed a picture of Hunter Biden's penis.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
And you remember Jerry Falwell Jr., who resigned as president
How
of
could I forget?
Liberty University after his threesome with his wife and a pool boy, 29-year-old Giancarlo Granda. There they all are.
Well, the story was that the wife and the pool guy were having sex, and Jerry liked to sit in the corner and watch.
I call that participating.
Well, I'm not saying he wasn't.
Anyway, all right, we thought that was the end of it. He had to resign. No. Falwell sued Liberty University, claiming they accepted inaccurate claims against his moral character without good research and forced him to resign. So he gets $15 million from the school. This is where your religious donations are going.
Yeah, they had, warring suits against each other, Liberty and Falwell, and so they settled for Liberty paying Falwell $15 million.
Now, we lost someone, not a member of our community, but certainly a great ally, Norma Maras Swenson, the co-founder of Our Bodies, Ourselves. She's died at the age of 93. She was a medical sociologist, but Our Bodies, Ourselves was this breakthrough.
Absolutely. But she had quite a wide career. It wasn't just that. She was a legendary activist.
In public health.
Yeah. And the whole thing about Our Bodies, Ourselves was women are the experts, which, of course, you will hear the echo of AIDS activists saying we are the experts, and that's how all this goes in a line throughout history.
She did hold the belief that education is the key to breaking down walls of inequality. And I wish that were entirely true.
Yes, she taught at Harvard School of Public Health.
Yeah.
She wasn't just some, street activist.
Oh, she worked all over the world on public health.
Yes. Our Bodies, Ourselves was a seminal work.
We want to alert you to the drag march that's coming up at the end of June, Friday, June 27th at 7:30 in Tompkins Square Park.
Starting in Tompkins Square Park.
Starts at 7:30, and then, they gather for a while, and it's quite a show.
Yeah.
I was there last year.
And march over to the Stonewall.
You don't have to wear drag, but you can.
I volunteered to marshal this year.
Oh, good for you.
I'll be there. And, of course, the Queer Liberation March 2 days later, gathering at the AIDS Memorial at 7th Avenue and West 12th Street on Sunday at 11 a.m. and marching uptown to Lenape Circle, as we call it now, formerly known as Columbus Circle.
And Trump Circle. That's where
well, it's right by the Trump International
exactly.
Hotel.
That's why it's often a focus of protest.
Yes, and will be again. Meanwhile, World Pride has started in D.C. It's a, I think, 3-week-long affair, or at least 2. And they started with a trans freedom rally at the National Mall. But you know that a lot of the programming was all thrown out of the Kennedy Center, and there is some question about what's going to happen with all this over the next couple of weeks, and whether everything will be peaceful and fine, or whether the Trump administration will try to interfere in some way.
He doesn't care as long as you're out of the way for his birthday march on June 14th.
Yes.
And
they will be.
Which in America is going to be No King's Day, and we're all supposed to demonstrate from coast to coast against him.
Yeah, well, I'm for that.
All right, the Holy Father.
Sure.
So we got to put up this picture. You know, here's Pope Leo XIV meeting with J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. He refused to marry them. He urged them to man up and stop kowtowing to Trump. That was his message. Actually, he did deliver the message this week that, condemning same-sex marriage again.
Well, did he condemn it? Did he?
Oh, do I have to get the quote?
Yes.
All right. The family is founded upon the stable union between a man and a woman. Come on. I mean, he got elected with a lot of conservative support.
Well, Francis was not as liberal as people like to think he was.
But Leo did say, we still see too much discord, too many wounds caused by violence, prejudice, and the fear of difference. You think? How about praying over your own hateful teachings against us that contribute to discord and wounds caused by violence? And again, he's not responsible for his brother Louis, but this guy, Louis, we got a picture of him, has a history of posting MAGA memes, anti-LGBTQ sentiments. He posted about Nancy Pelosi's husband, being on Grindr and all this kind of stuff.
Well, it's, when her husband was attacked by the intruder with the hammer, a lot of stuff that was said by the right wing was, that was his ex-lover coming after him.
He referred to Nancy as a drunk C-word. I mean, that doesn't sound very Christian.
Well, it's interesting that it did not disqualify the Pope from becoming the Pope.
Look, he posted, your child isn't trans. You're just an S-word parent.
And you were reading up about.
And then he said, Pope Francis. This is in an interview recently. He said, well, Francis was a little more liberal with the transsexuals and the homosexuals and whatnot.
So we have a lifetime of looking forward to his statements.
I guess so, like Billy Carter.
Yeah. And the Pope himself had an interesting background that you were.
Well, we already learned that he has Creole grandparents, so, he's a person of color.
Yeah.
And that his other grandfather, who's Italian, and they used to be classified as people of color too, in this country, but that's not what the issue is. It was in the papers a lot at the turn of the century for having an affair with another woman. I don't know why this made the papers in Chicago, but it was a big deal. And he ends up being with the woman who is the Pope's mother. The Pope's grandmother. So, and we don't even know if they got married.
Heaven forbid.
So lighten up about us, okay?
Nice
Given
try.
your heritage.
Nice try. We told you last week that Omaha had surprisingly elected a Democrat as mayor, beating the three-time incumbent. The guy they elected is black. That was unexpected in Omaha. And the three-time incumbent mayor campaigned with vicious anti-trans ads endlessly. And
that's all they got.
And lost. So that's excellent news.
You got any more domestic news?
Yeah, in Naples, Florida, a court says the Pride organization can do an outdoor, family-friendly drag show for everybody. The right wing had tried to stop it and say, you can only do it indoors and you blah, blah, blah. And the court also said that the city cannot charge the $36,000 that they wanted to for extra security.
Oh, that's terrible. That's good.
Yeah, it's good news.
Yes.
Yeah. And in New York City, Heritage of Pride, has lost some corporate sponsorship. I asked someone who
They run the old time Pride Parade.
the traditional Pride Parade. So I asked someone to ask them about what they were doing without the corporate support, because we should all get together with the Queer Liberation March
Yes.
if there's no
make it a
corporate
big
support.
protest.
Yeah, well, the Heritage of Pride is evidently saying that they're filling the gaps with community support. And they are and planned. And plan peer-to-peer giving, whatever that means.
All right. I suggest all Pride parades, turn themselves into protest marches this year,
Absolutely.
because that's what we need to be doing.
World Pride in
What's
DC.
there to celebrate?
World Pride in DC, I think on June 8th, whatever the Sunday is there, is planning a protest march. Let's see how many people stick around for that.
Okay.
Yes. I guess we don't want to talk about that yet. Well, David Medina in D.C., former deputy chief to Michelle Obama, a data and policy nonprofit executive, has a new book. Or are we going to do this later?
Yeah.
Well, as long as I've started. Shakespeare's Greatest Love. Now, we've heard rumors about Shakespeare and men for years.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I haven't read this book, David, but that cute guy that Shakespeare is with there is the Earl of Southampton, right?
Yep.
And they say he wrote the love poems to him.
Yep.
But there's also plenty of evidence that a lot of this was actually written by the Earl of Oxford to this kid, and that the Earl of Oxford wrote all the plays that are attributed to Shakespeare. So I don't know if that's all sorted out in your book, David.
Well, the book says that The Merchant of Venice and All's Well That Ends Well were dedicated to this younger guy.
Yeah, because the Earl of Oxford wrote it, and he was in love with him. But, I mean, I read some of the publicity for this book, and it said, such a well-documented life,
Yeah.
Shakespeare. No, we hardly know anything about him, and he was, there's just very little that we know biographically about William Shakespeare.
I did go to the pulmonologist last week about my cough.
Oh.
She's speculating maybe acid reflux, maybe postnasal drip, maybe both, maybe whatever.
Well, get more tests. Let's
Yep.
figure it out. All
I
right.
think losing 20 pounds would help.
Me too. And all your tips are welcome. And do we go to international news?
We can.
The Russian LGBTQ rights group, VICOD, which means coming out, they released the new report that 5% of respondents reported emigrating in 2024, slightly down from the 6% in 2023 and 15% in 2022. So LGBTQ people are leaving. And of course, when they stay, they all, face violence and discrimination, and it's just
It's getting worse. They're under threat to be reported to authorities. A lot of them are living in poverty and turning to sex work to survive.
Are you done?
91% report self-censorship
Sure.
and not disclosing who they are to doctors.
Oh, like CBS News.
Yeah.
In Ghana, legislators, they had again introduced a bill to increase the criminal penalties for homosexuality and for supporting LGBTQ rights. And if passed, it would punish same-sex acts with a term of up to 3 years for same-sex relations, 5 for willful promotion, sponsorship, or support of LGBTQ activities. The new president said that he is committed to passing the bill.
In Victoria, Australia, 35 people, some as young as 13, have been arrested for luring gay men on Grindr, who they then assaulted, robbed, filmed, and posted pictures of online.
Shades of those defenestrations from decades ago.
35 arrested.
Wow.
That's a big crowd.
In Romania, the pro-European Union centrist Nicolae Dan has won the presidential election over his far-right opponent, and that keeps a veto in the EU away from the pro-Russian nationalists that he beat. That's very, very important for forward motion. But he won 54 to 46.
But this is the trend now, because the European countries are seeing Trump, and the voters are acting against that.
Well, look, the guy who won, Don, says he's neither conservative nor progressive. He's a technocrat. He's very evasive on LGBTQ issues, but he doesn't, use them against us, which is something.
In Hungary, they have a new bill that copies Russia with the don't say gay, don't be gay policies. It outlaws foreign financed NGOs that support LGBTQ. That's what Russia has done too.
And in the Polish election, they had the first round, and the liberal mayor of Warsaw did finish first ahead of the right-winger, but he only got about 31% of the vote, and there are a lot more right-wing candidates, so we'll have to be worried about that.
One thing that's been controversial over the years is acknowledging the victimization of mostly gay men, some lesbians too, in the Holocaust. And in Paris, they have now put up a memorial to those victims. There it is. It's this black steel on one side, which symbolizes the burning of people in the ovens. The other side is a mirror that allows people to see themselves.
And the colors from the weather and the sky of Paris that change as fast as public opinion can turn backwards, the artist said.
It was and the artist is Jean-Luc Verne, and it's in a park by the Place de la Bastille, and it was unveiled on the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Transphobia.
May 17th, and the mayor, Anne Hidalgo, said that we have to keep fighting against denial and mitigation. She said that there are today extremely dangerous, strong opposing winds that would like to deny the diversity of the victims.
Yeah.
There are also monuments to the gay victims of the Holocaust in Amsterdam, Barcelona, Tel Aviv, and Sydney, but they're all in the shape of a pink triangle.
In Sweden.
Oh, yes.
The new National Security Advisor, Tobias Thyberg, quit after 1 day.
1 day.
Because
he omitted something from his resume.
His Grindr pics. Somebody anonymously published or sent in old Grindr pics of his. Why that should make someone have to quit?
Can't you survive that these days?
In Sweden, for heaven's sake?
Exactly, in Sweden.
Well, and in Scotland, tell us the Scotland story.
So on Saturday, these women, we have a picture, they stood outside the Scottish Parliament building, stripped to the waist. These are trans women. And so even though it is illegal in the United Kingdom for women to go topless in public, they said, according to the Supreme Court's interpretation of the Equalities Act, we're not women, so you can't arrest us. And they said, look, this is a public act of grief, resistance, and solidarity to highlight the hypocrisy of the ruling. If the Supreme Court can see these women legally as men, then they'll have zero issue with them going tops off.
Were they arrested?
I don't know.
Okay. Follow up next week.
I'll try to find out. I don't think so. I think that would have been the lead.
And then I think a very sad story from northern England. You may have heard about the big ancient tree that was cut down by Hadrian's Wall. I've walked on Hadrian's Wall.
Well, it's
kind of moving.
This is the Sycamore Gap tree, too. Yep.
Yeah. So they were all, sad and up in arms about this, and they finally caught the two guys who had done it. And it turns out that these guys have been identified as homophobic attackers of multiple gay men who they had been known to attack and were never charged over.
One victim that they went after was asked to watch about 10 videos of them delivering homophobic abuse to others.
Yes. And
but the police declined to bring charges due to insufficient evidence.
Enough. Yeah. But we'll get them for the tree.
The tree, the beloved tree.
Well, I'm all for defending the tree, but come on.
Okay.
All right, age news.
Did we do the Lambda lawsuit to the NIH? Did you do that?
Yes.
Yes, you did that, right. Okay, so, well.
In Maryland, good news. In Maryland, the governor there, Wes Moore, has signed a bill repealing the criminalization of people with HIV. It's only the 5th state to do it. He described it, or someone described it, as a racist law. In Maryland, black men make up 14% of the population. They make up 44% of those living with HIV and 68% of those who have been charged criminally for their HIV infection.
I went to the University of Virginia where we have an honor system and you have to turn each other in and leave the university if you observe an
like
event.
West Point.
It was almost always enforced against black people.
Of course.
And the whites didn't enforce it against each other.
Right.
So it's ridiculous. But in the United States, 32 states continue to criminalize people living with HIV, and 28 states have harsh criminal penalties elevated.
And they're all about transmission, but they don't require HIV to have been transmitted. If you are someone with HIV, basically dating someone, you are subject to criminal prosecution.
Right. Now, Governor Moore, who himself is a black man, also vetoed a bill to look into reparations for black people.
Is that because of his desire to be president of the United States?
Yes.
Well, you would think that signing the repeal of HIV criminalization might not be popular either, but evidently he's okay.
And there
with
was
that.
a big AIDS demo in Haiti. Charles King writes that he participated with Haitian people living with HIV in a big demonstration outside the office of their prime minister. They're demanding that the government buy the medication that the United States has cut off.
It's pretty sad when a country as poor and riven with violence has to now suddenly discuss financing these drugs.
Look, the United States is cutting off everything. We're cutting it off to fellow Americans as well.
Well, it's all about the drug. It's also about the drug companies who should be supplying these
Yes.
drugs for nothing to countries like Haiti.
Okay. Entertainment news?
Yes, more or less.
Well, do you watch The Amazing Race?
Yes.
Well,
I
then you
do.
tell the story.
Well, our friend Shep.
Oh, yes.
Hi,
Shep.
Who lost his arm to a severe infection many years ago, has been living with HIV for many years. Shep he's been telling me for years, you and I have got to go on The Amazing Race. And I said, not on your life. But we would be a cute couple on it. Anyway, The Amazing Race has been on for like 6,000 years. But it was won this time by two gay men who are best friends. They're not a couple. The gay couple got kicked off or failed a few
Their names
weeks ago.
are Carson McCalley and Jack Dodge.
And they were adorable, but they describe themselves as Dungeons and Dragons nerds. They say that they were young, confused, queer weirdos. And then they became proud of themselves.
They got an early lead and they never relinquished it.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Of course, Carson McCalley, he's the guy on the left. This is a picture of him from 2019 when he was a guest right here on this show.
Yep.
Because he was one of the stars of The Inheritance, the big gay play that was on Broadway.
Which is pretty amazing because they don't often have Broadway actors on The Amazing Race. Or here.
And
well, we're still celebrating the appearance of Coleman Domingo on this show.
Absolutely. We got him on before he was famous.
Yeah. Well, that's why we got him on.
By the way, I will link to that 2019 video if you want to listen to that interview. It's also with the other cast members. Two other cast members there
of
from
The Inheritance.
Yes.
And we're celebrating.
Samuel H. Levine and Jason Barbour.
Have they been on The Amazing Race?
I don't know.
Well, Lauren Chan, I can't read my own handwriting, has been on the cover of Sports Illustrated and is the first plus-size model, first out lesbian on the cover of the swimsuit issue.
Okay.
Congratulations, Lauren.
The Drama League came out with its awards for this theater season, and it gave its Best Production of a Play award, this is of all plays, Broadway and off-Broadway, to Cola Scola's Oh Mary.
Who is being touted for the Tony by our old pal Jesse Green, drama critic for the New York Times, says Cole should win, will win, O'Mary will win. Well,
see
I
about
hope so. Yeah.
Billionaire David Geffen has filed for divorce from his husband, David Armstrong, after less than 2 years of marriage. According to the papers, they did not sign a prenup before marrying in 2023, which means maybe he needs psychiatric evaluation. But they say, given the way he makes his money, he's not that vulnerable.
Right, and they were only married for 2 years, so how much could he get? This Friday on HBO, Pee-wee as Himself, the two-part documentary about Pee Wee Herman. Friday. I'm sure it will be repeated and will be available on demand on HBO or on Max, but Pee-wee as Himself.
Kevin Spacey was given an award at the Better World Foundation Gala at Cannes. He compared himself in his blistering speech to the persecution of Dalton Trumbo, who was blacklisted, for communism
as a
and things
communist
like that.
in the
This great screenwriter.
50s,
more than 30 men have accused Spacey of sexual assault. He's beaten all the charges, including actor Guy Pearce, who claims Spacey behaved inappropriately in 1997 when they were shooting LA Confidential. Spacey posted a video about that, telling Pearce, "Grow up, you're not a victim." So, and he's got a current suit against him by one of the actors he worked with at the Old Vic in London.
We have only a little over a minute left. If you missed seeing Chris Cooper on this show, you can see him on June 14th at the High Line Pigeon Festival here in New York, 30th Street. They're going to have a lot of different pigeon-related games and stories and everything else, and Chris Cooper will be part of it.
I'm going to check out Cruising in the Shadows in New York City, an exhibit in New York on June 6th. That will be in our email. And we got a picture. This is of a guy who held up a sign when they cut down all the trees in the neighborhood pre-Stonewall.
Uncovering secret LGBTQ plus culture in New York City.
Newfest Pride is May 29th to June 2nd. We'll link to that. Go to newfest.org. Lots of good shows. And Monday, June 2nd at 7 o'clock, The Dyke Show with a companion documentary, Here Come the Dykes, is showing at the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History.
Are we sure? All right, more next week, but we're done for this week. Thanks for tuning in. See you then.